This is Annette Kirkland, and welcome to Beyond the Gates. This season, we're going to be highlighting ERDC's legacy of groundbreaking research and cutting-edge technologies. Join us as we explore how innovation continues to drive progress in military and civil works missions. Waterways to ERDC, a united approach. And I'm delighted to be here with Dr. Paul Mlakar and Dr. Bill Marcuson. And they are retired from ERDC, or Waterways. We're here to talk about a lot of interesting facts and some things you will learn about both of them. So the first question, and by the way, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are y'all this morning?
Hey.
We're fine.
Good, good. And I love the fact that we're here today talking about these interesting facts, also on the day that we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Waterways going to the united approach of being ERDC. So we're going to talk about a lot of things about those facts. So first thing is, tell me about yourself and your background. And I'll start with Dr. Marcuson.
Well, I was born and raised in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and went to public schools up there. After high school graduation, I went to the Citadel and then Michigan State, and then served in the Army for a couple of years in Korea. Came back and was at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, which is where I met my wife. Then went back to school at North Carolina State University. And after graduation from North Carolina State, I came down here to what was then the Waterways Experiment Station.
Okay.
And I've been here ever since.
Sounds great. Dr. Mlakar?
Well, I was born in and raised in northern Illinois.
Okay.
I attended our military academy at West Point, graduating in 1966. Virtually all of my class found our way to Vietnam in the next few years.
Right.
After Vietnam, I had the chance to go back to West Point and teach engineering for 3 years, which was a very, very good experience.
Okay.
And at the end of that assignment, they offered me an assignment to the Waterways Experiment Station. Well, at that time, I had never heard of it.
I was fixing to ask, had you heard of it
No.
before? Okay.
It turns out they had visited my unit in Vietnam.
Really?
Just before I reported. But I
Okay.
didn't learn that until years later.
Okay.
So I was working on my PhD thesis in absentia, which was in solid mechanics. And somehow Waterways Experiment Station didn't sound that related.
Mechanical?
Exactly. Well, it turns out my mentor said, no, Paul, there's other things going on down there. Go down and have a look. And I did, and here I am, like Bill, 50 years later this month.
Time flies, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So I need you guys to tell me about your roles at ERDC. And Dr. Marcuson, we'll start with you.
Well, amazingly enough, I was a research engineer and then a laboratory director.
Okay.
And those are the only two positions I ever held out there.
But they were long-term positions, weren't they?
Yes, I came here, more or less, I came here in 1970, September of 1970. I became a laboratory director in 1981, and I served as a laboratory director until retirement.
Okay. Dr. Mlakar?
So I came here in August of '73 as an Army captain. I liked what I was doing so much that I resigned and became a civilian research engineer like Bill
Okay.
in 1974. And I served in that capacity until 1984, when I had a chance to start a new division of a company in the private sector. Still stayed in Vicksburg.
Okay. Okay.
And then subsequently in 95, division chief position opened up here. I was still here, and I applied for that. So I came back in 95
Okay.
as the chief of one of the divisions in the structures laboratory. Subsequently, in 2004, I competed for and received a promotion to senior research scientist.
Wow, that's awesome.
There's only 45 or 46 of them in the whole Army, and each one is for a specific technical area. In my case, weapons effects and structural dynamics. So, remained here until my retirement in 2015.
Okay, all right.
But we both still have our offices.
You just can't leave, can you?
Really.
Well, on October 1st, 1998, the orders were signed that converted the Waterways Experiment Station to ERDC and joined 7 separate labs together. You were employees at the time. Can you tell us about why that change happened?
I can speculate.
You can speculate, okay.
Before the consolidation, there was a full colonel at each of the other labs, and they were trying to reduce the number of colonels in the Army, and by consolidating the labs, they could consolidate the colonels, and now there's one.
Right.
And so my speculation is that was a way to eliminate 06s or colonels in the Corps of Engineers.
Okay. Dr. Mlakar?
What Bill says is true, and that really that happened. I sort of, having been through the transition process and served under it for some time now, I think there was also a good amount of competition amongst the
That's what I understood, right.
separate foresights. Now, some competition is good. It leads to good ideas, different ways of thinking, but I think there was an awful lot of it, and maybe it was time to cooperate rather than compete as much.
The key word is collaboration, right?
Yeah. As a specific example, the division I led in the structures lab, we were doing some research on fiber reinforced polymer materials. These were developed primarily for the aerospace industry in the 1980s, but early in the 1990s, civil engineers began looking at applications of this material. For example, it's reinforced with carbon fibers or epoxy glass fibers. It doesn't rust like reinforcing steel, so
Right.
there's an advantage there. Also, on a strength per weight basis, they're lighter than steel or reinforced concrete. So we charged ahead doing research on that. It turns out our sister laboratory in Champaign, Illinois, the Construction Engineering Research Laboratory, they were doing that too.
Okay.
As was even a small group at our Cold Regions Research Laboratory in New Hampshire.
Right.
And this was, I want to say, up until the late, 1998. This was done in competition more so than cooperation.
Right. Right. So that's a pretty good reason to make the change.
Yeah.
So for those people who were working in the labs at the time of the reorganization, how did the change affect you?
Very, very, very little.
Okay.
I think it led to what I would call certainly increased contracting. When I came here early on, we had a soil mechanics laboratory, and we would do $500,000 worth of testing for the New Orleans district. That certainly changed, and I think there was during the Reagan administration, Ronald Reagan administration, there was an effort to push government contracting out, mm-hmm. And I think ERDC has certainly helped in developing our relationships with other universities who are now doing a fair amount of contract work for us.
Right, right.
And so I think the most significant achievement was probably an increased effort in contracting out.
Okay, great. Anything to add?
I would say the organizational structure changed dramatically. The Waterways Experiment Station was pretty much the military organization. You have a laboratory. Beneath the laboratory, you have divisions, which is where I was. Mm-hmm. Under the divisions, you have branches, and in some cases, we have sections below that. But it was a strict hierarchy. Mm-hmm. The ERDC reorganization introduced the concept of a matrixed organizations. So we still had division chiefs, right, who were responsible for the people and the facilities. But now we had technical directors who had technical responsibilities.
Right.
We led technical programs, we didn't lead people. And it took a little while to get used to that, but
So there weren't technical directors when it was Waterways?
No.
Okay.
There was one technical director, and he was the head civilian, Fred Brown.
Okay, 10-4.
Yeah. So I ended up with a second role as technical director, and here we are.
So what do you feel are some of the most significant achievements of ERDC since its inception? Y'all don't fight over him.
That's an interesting question. I'm not, in terms of significant achievements, again, seems to me that we've made a big step in concrete, and that's I'm trying to think. Phil Malone used to make a concrete that would hold ammunition. It wouldn't let the ammunition penetrate through, but it would absorb the ammunition. And we've used that in all sorts of targets around the world. I don't know. That's a hard question for me to answer.
Okay.
Oh, we've done remarkable work with airfields pavements, and we've evaluated airfields all over around the world, to include the Jackson airfield.
Oh, okay.
We did an airfield evaluation on that. But other than that, that's sort of a hard question for me to answer.
Okay, okay.
There's a lot of things like that. If I had to say one thing, at least in the structures part of the new organization, I think we have grown to be the leader in protective structures. Mm-hmm. We had a part in it when I left in 1984, but we were frankly kind of a minor player within the Department of Defense. And once I was gone, we grew and became a leader when I came back.
Okay.
But we are recognized now, really, protective construction. We're the first place everybody goes now. Yeah.
We are the premier research and development organization. Absolutely.
Yep.
So, Dr. Mlakar, you were one of the first people to examine the wreckage at the Pentagon after 9/11. Can you tell us about that work, and how did collaboration with other labs help you report and work on a better understanding of how to make buildings less vulnerable to attacks?
Sure. Let's back up to September 11th. I was actually at West Point for a meeting on September 10th, and at 8 o'clock Eastern Time in the morning of September 11th, we had a conference call scheduled amongst, half a dozen of us who were contemplating whether we needed to write a standard for blast-resistant design.
Wow.
And about 8:15 in the morning, the first plane crashed into the Pentagon. As I say, I was in my hotel room at West Point. Another person on the call was in his office in Lower Manhattan.
Wow.
And we thought it was something that happened in 1947. An errant World War II bomber got off course looking for Newark Airport and crashed into the Empire State Building. I did a special study of this my senior year at West Point.
Wow.
And my first reaction was, wow, I wonder what damage it did to the building. But it destroyed a plane, but didn't really do anything to the building. What was different with that World War II bomber is it was just about out of fuel, desperately searching for a place to land,
Right.
whereas the attacks of 9/11 were deliberately full of fuel. So about half an hour into the call, engineers going to work on what we're working on.
Right.
Didn't pay that much attention to the small plane, but we saw the second plane crash. I forgot to mention, while waiting for the conference call, I had the Today Show on mute.
Right.
So I was seeing everything, but not hearing everything.
Right.
And we all recognized that this was not an accident, that something big was happening.
Right.
So in another 15 minutes, another person on the call was from the staff of the American Society of Civil Engineers, which is located in the Washington, D.C. area. He had pulled into a parking lot on the east side of the Pentagon to take the conference call. And he interrupted and said, guys, something has just happened on the west side of the Pentagon. He could see the smoke from that crash, but couldn't really tell what was going on. Well, even we decided at that point that maybe we should suspend the conference call and come back and so on. So going from there, that afternoon, ASCE organized a team to study what exactly happened at the World Trade Center. Not that we're going to design buildings to resist airplane crashes, but is there something to be learned there? And they also wanted a team to study the Pentagon, and they asked me if I'd be willing to do that, and I agreed and immediately began checking with our headquarters in Washington, and we decided, yeah, we want to do that. So, so all this is Tuesday afternoon. On Thursday afternoon, headquarters said, okay, come on down.
That's soon after?
Yeah, that's soon after. So I actually got in the building for the first time about midnight on Friday, and spent really the next 2 weeks kind of just collecting information, information about the plane, information about the building, and so on. We, not only the other labs here, but really the whole spectrum of people that belong to the American Society of Civil Engineers, engineers in private practice, contractors, and so on. There was a role for all of us in collecting this information. We finally got our report together really after about 6 months, when the security people in the Pentagon raised concern about the report.
Okay.
That we were maybe giving away some vulnerabilities and so on. And I tried talking with them for weeks, didn't get anywhere, and I realized we were speaking a totally different language. So I got our chief of security to talk to the Pentagon chief of security.
Right.
And within a couple of weeks, they ironed it out. So it was about January of 2003 that we finally released our report.
Okay. Okay. Wow. That's an interesting story. So, were you able to coordinate with any other labs on the work with this, with the report or anything?
Yeah, several of our labs contributed to this,
Okay.
and several external organizations through ASCE also contributed.
Oh, that's
to it.
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay. So, Dr. Marcuson, you were instrumental on the research that happened after Hurricane Katrina devastated our Gulf Coast. Can you tell us more about that, and how did you coordinate with other labs on that work?
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I went down to the New Orleans area after Katrina for the National Science Foundation.
Okay.
I was not a Corps employee at the time, and so it didn't have much to do with the Corps of Engineers. I was down there representing the National Science Foundation. Right. It turns out that Paul was also down there at the time with Colonel Creer,
Okay.
or General Creer. And so he and I worked together a little bit on that.
Okay.
But I spent about a week going around to all the sites. We looked at everything, and then came back, and there were 5 of us. Gonzalo Castro, I can't even remember the other 4, but a half a dozen of us. But we spent an entire week down there looking at the levees, looking at the T-walls and the various walls, looking at the damage, and ended up writing a very nice report for the National Science Foundation.
Okay. That's great. That's great. Well, appreciate both of your work.
Yeah.
Outstanding. So important that what you guys do and did. So how has ERDC contributed to the development of other infrastructure in the United States?
I think primarily with airfields. In my experience, what I know is that we've done a fair amount of work on airfields all over the world, and we've made major contributions to airfield evaluations and improvements. Paul was mentioning work with bomb damage repair. In terms of missiles, you don't really count on a direct strike. If you get a direct hit, you're going to lose the missile. What you have is you want a near miss, and you want the bird cage to open and the bird to get out. And I think we've done remarkable work on, if you will, damage repair.
Mm-hmm. And quick damage repair?
Yeah, we've done some good work on I'd say dam repair, mm-hmm. with regard to earthquakes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anything to add?
So that blast standard we were talking about on 9/11, mm-hmm. That finally came to be. It was published in 2010. Mm-hmm. Broadly, contributions from the entire civil engineering profession, but the Corps of Engineers kind of at the lead,
right,
in that. And I would say that's a contribution. We were no longer, as of about 2010, we were no longer a small player in
right.
blast-resistant design, but kind of the go-to source. Yeah.
And I'm sure that those reports and all that are referenced a lot.
Yes.
In research
yes.
and several things.
Yeah.
So as a part of the ERDC organization, how are you able to collaborate with other government agencies, academic institutions, and private sector organizations to achieve your goals?
Paul, you want to go first?
He picked you.
Yeah. That has been strongly encouraged. Universities, private industry that has ideas that we might not think of here or might be ahead of us. There's all kinds of that going on right now. If you look at the budget of the ERDC today, and the number of people we employ, we we don't pay our employees enough to spend all that money. To get that accomplished, it's got to be broad participation from industries and academia. Yeah.
So the famous saying, teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it has helped develop a network. And we used to have what we called interagency meetings. This would be with the Bureau of Reclamation or Tennessee Valley and that sort of thing. And sometimes they'd be held in Knoxville, or sometimes they'd be held in Vicksburg, or sometimes they'd be held in Denver. But at one time, I thought I knew the person behind every major desk in this country, and you could call them up and talk to them on the phone and all.
Well, that's cool.
And it was really something. And I think ERDC and the Corps of Engineers has played a big role in just helping people develop networks. It certainly helped me.
Connections.
Yeah.
Very important.
Very important.
Partnerships, very important. Exactly. So can you provide any advice or tips for the future workforce of ERDC?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Seems to me that people need to ask themselves, what do I want to do? Why do I want to do it? And what am I prepared to sacrifice to get it done?
Okay.
And if you sit and think about that, it'll help you a great deal.
Okay. Anything to add?
Yeah, sort of to compliment that.
Y'all are complimenting each other.
I'd encourage our rising talent to get out and see what else is going on in our different laboratories. It's easy to get so focused on what you're doing that you're doing that well and that's it. But I've been served well by taking the opportunity to get out and see what's going on in the environmental laboratory,
right.
to see what's going on in coastal and hydraulics laboratory. Every now and then you pick up an idea that you could do what they're doing. It could also apply to what you're doing. And another advantage of this is all across town, people read your news articles, listen to these broadcasts, and a neighbor or friend will ask me a question about something I'm not directly involved in. And it's always nice to be able to say 20 or 30 seconds and be aware of those other things that are going on.
Right, right. Well, just like you referenced, it's so fun to get to know people, researchers and engineers on this radio show, and to learn what they do. Yeah. And again, can reference and go, oh, wow, I had no idea. So it's fun, like you say, to branch out and learn about the labs and what they do.
Yeah.
So you both have had a long and distinguished career at WES and ERDC. So can you share one of your favorite memories with our listeners?
Sure.
Okay.
We had, in the 1970s, we had something called the Soil Mechanics Advisory Board.
Okay.
And it was composed of 7 or 8 members, but these were giants in the field. And members of it were Wendell Johnson, and he's really the Corps of Engineer guy who designed most of the dams on the Missouri River, mainstream dams. Arthur Casagrande, George Bertram, Reg Barron, John Lowe. He was a senior partner at TAMS and also the chief engineer on Tarbella Dam in Pakistan. And Stanley Wilson was with Shannon and Wilson. And to sit in meetings all day long with them and then go to dinner at night and that sort of thing was just a wonderful experience. And I got to meet people on a one-on-one basis that were just hallmarks in engineering.
I like that phrase. Hallmarks in engineering. I like that. Dr. Mlakar?
Yeah, so back to 1998 when ERDC was created. At that time, the engineering department at West Point, thanks to a gift from graduates, had established a chair, endowed chair in civil engineering. Mm-hmm. And they approached me about possibly participating.
Okay.
And as I came back to, I guess it was now ERDC, and raised this idea, the head up in Washington said, we've got a big task ahead of us to get reorganized and going. Really be better if you were part of that then.
Okay.
At West Point at this time. So that was 1998. Along about 2010, it finally happened. I spent my last 4 years really splitting my time, half still with the ERDC here, half at West Point. Mm-hmm. And my goal, our goal, was to get the ERDC staff involved in the curriculum at West Point, mm-hmm. and vice versa, get the faculty at West Point involved in our research and so on.
That's great.
And that worked. And in fact, in breaking news, 4 cadets whose research project I sort of monitored during this time, they just received a patent.
That's fantastic.
And further to that, there were 2 young majors who were junior instructors up there at the time I was in this endowed chair. One of them commands the New Orleans district today, and the other one commands the Seattle district today.
And you're pretty proud, aren't you?
Well, let me borrow a phrase from my mentor,
okay.
Who used to say, they did well in spite of their association.
Yes, sir.
One more bit of trivia.
Okay.
As a second lieutenant, I was a roommate with Daniel Crispin, who was also a second lieutenant. Daniel Crispin was the #1 man in West Point, 1964, I think. 5? Okay. But anyway, we were roommates in Korea, and he turned out to be the superintendent at West Point and a 3-star general.
Wow. Okay.
So he had quite a track record, too.
Yes, he did. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. And I know everyone has learned a lot. And would you like to add anything else than what we talked about?
No, thank you.
Well, again, I'm super excited that you guys were able to be here with the show. This is episode 1 of our 3rd season. Excited to be in our 3rd season, and we look forward to talking to many other researchers and engineers throughout ERDC and talking about how ERDC formed from Waterways to ERDC. So anyway, hope everyone has a wonderful day.